Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something that's honestly deeply personal for a lot of us, the 7 signs you're growing spiritually. When we think about personal evolution, we usually picture these massive, earth-shattering moments, right? Like loud epiphanies or these dramatic life overhauls that change everything overnight. But the research and the concepts we're breaking down today, they tell a completely different and honestly much more mysterious story. True spiritual and personal evolution almost always happens quietly, just beneath the surface of our everyday lives. It's kind of like this high-quality documentary that's unfolding right inside your own mind, completely unseen by anyone else. So my goal today is to help you recognize those subtle little shifts as we embark on this journey inward together.
Because there's this profound truth we often overlook, and it's this: growth is often a quiet and solitary process. Think about it. We live in a world that is just constantly demanding our attention, right? We've got endless notifications, loud opinions everywhere, and this relentless rush to post and share every single milestone. But real growth? It rarely happens with some big, loud announcement. Instead, it happens in the stillness. It happens in the margins of your day, in those quiet moments of reflection, and honestly, a lot of times when you are completely alone. If you've been feeling this shift inside yourself lately that you can't quite put into words, just a subtle change in how you respond to the world, well, that is exactly what we are talking about today.
I actually want you to take a second and just ask yourself, have you felt different lately? Maybe you've been feeling a little disconnected from your usual routines, or maybe you're even experiencing this kind of confusing sense of isolation. Listen, if you are nodding your head right now, I completely validate those feelings. It can be super confusing when your entire internal landscape starts changing, especially when the outside world looks exactly the same. But feeling different doesn't mean something is wrong with you. In fact, as we'll see in the concepts we're exploring today, it's very often the first major indicator that you're kicking off a really profound transformation.
All right, Section 1, the call to silence, finding comfort in the quiet.
This all starts with sign number 1. You actually enjoy solitude. And let's be incredibly clear here. We are not talking about isolating yourself because you're depressed or hiding from the world. No, this is a totally different vibe. This is about finding a brand new, super peaceful comfort in your own company. When you start evolving on a deeper level, there's this natural, almost magnetic pull to step away from the noisy external world. You might find yourself suddenly craving lonely night walks, just watching the city lights, or maybe just sitting in a quiet room listening to the rain. In the past, you might have felt this panic need to fill that space with a podcast, a phone call, or just surround yourself with a crowded room. But now, you actually look forward to the quiet. It's a fascinating shift, really. Because the silence is no longer something you're trying to avoid, it becomes a space where you can finally just hear yourself think.
Building right on top of that comfort in being alone, we hit sign number 2. You feel emotionally calmer. You can kind of think about this like the storms of reactivity finally starting to settle down. We all face daily chaos, crazy traffic, weird workplace drama, just random unexpected inconveniences. But as you grow spiritually, your internal state stops mirroring that external chaos. You become like this deep, steady ocean. Sure, the surface might get a little choppy when the wind blows, but down below, there is an unshakable calm. You literally stop feeling the urge to immediately react or argue or panic about every little thing. You start observing life instead of just colliding with it all the time.
Moving on to Section 2, shedding what no longer serves, leaving shadows behind.
So as your internal frequency changes, the environment around you naturally has to adjust. And that leads directly to sign number 3. You outgrow toxic people. What's actually really interesting about the word outgrow here is that it doesn't mean you're having these massive, dramatic blowouts or giant fights. It's usually way more subtle than that. You just start recognizing draining relationships for what they actually are, and you organically start distancing yourself. You basically wake up and realize your energy and your peace are just way too valuable to spend on constant drama, negativity, or people who only know how to take. Protecting your newfound energy becomes a top priority, and honestly, leaving those relational shadows behind is a totally vital, necessary step for your ongoing growth.
Section 3, awakening your inner voice, trusting the unseen.
Okay, so you've found the quiet, you've calmed the internal storms, and you've cleared your social space. What happens next? Well, this huge psychological shift takes place, bringing us right to sign number 4, you become more self-aware. And I'm not just talking about knowing your favorite color or what you want for dinner tonight. This level of self-awareness is literally like holding a pristine, high-definition mirror right up to your soul. That old reliance on external validation, it just starts to vanish. You begin to see yourself with incredible clarity, and most importantly, with radical honesty. You celebrate your light, your strengths, and your progress for sure. But you also courageously look at your shadows, your flaws, your triggers, and the parts of yourself that still really need some healing.
And here is exactly how that self-awareness works in practice. First, you start simply observing your thoughts. You just notice your mind doing its thing without constantly judging it. Second, you begin accepting those shadows we just talked about. Instead of fighting your darker tendencies or feeling guilty, you just acknowledge them. And finally, step 3, changing your reactions. Because you observed and you accepted, you suddenly have the power to consciously choose how you react to things. This simple 3-step framework of just noticing your own mind, it's basically the engine that drives profound internal transformation.
And as that self-awareness really sharpens, you arrive at sign number 5. You trust your intuition. The absolute crucial point here is this. When you truly know yourself, you stop needing everybody else to tell you what to do. That quiet inner voice, that subtle feeling in your gut that used to just get completely drowned out by the noise of the world, it suddenly becomes your primary guide. You start trusting that unseen compass. You make decisions that feel right to you, even if they don't make logical sense to the people around you. Why? Because you've learned that your intuition has access to a deeper wisdom that external opinions just simply do not have.
Which brings us to section 4, seeking a deeper meaning, beyond the surface. As you learn to trust that inner voice, your perspective on the entire world starts to shift in a huge way. And this manifests perfectly as sign number 6, you seek deeper meaning in life. That surface-level existence, the basic wake up, go to work, buy things, go to sleep routine, it's suddenly just not enough anymore. This deep, soul-level hunger emerges. You start looking way beyond everyday routines. You might find yourself gazing up at the stars at night, deeply pondering your place in this massive universe. You start questioning the why behind literally everything. Why are we here? What is my actual purpose? You start craving conversations with real emotional depth instead of just the usual small talk. And this matters so much because it shows your mind is expanding beyond the immediate tangible world into the realm of true philosophical and spiritual inquiry. You are hungry for real substance.
And finally, section 5, choosing peace over attention, the final shift. That profound hunger for substance leads us right to the culminating phase of this journey. Sign number 7, you value peace over attention. Look, in a society that constantly equates success with how many eyeballs are on you, this is a truly revolutionary shift. The exhausting need to be seen, to be validated, or to constantly prove yourself to the crowd, it just completely evaporates. Let's be real, engaging in some 40-comment argument with a complete stranger on the internet suddenly feels like the absolute least appealing thing you could possibly do. You realize that protecting your inner tranquility is vastly more important than being proven right or being the loudest person in the room. The demanding desires of the ego finally fade into the background, and you happily trade the spotlight for a quiet, undisturbed mind. This entire transition perfectly summarizes everything we've been talking about today. You are actively moving away from the noise of the past, a life built on seeking attention, tolerating toxic environments, and living in this state of constant, exhausting reactivity. And instead, you are stepping right into the peace of the present. You are deeply valuing your silence, you're trusting your own intuition, and you're operating from a really steady foundation of emotional calm. It's a complete, beautiful evolution from living outwardly for everyone else to living inwardly with profound intention.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one incredibly important question to mull over. Which sign is quietly unfolding in your life right now? Take a moment today to really sit with that. Are you suddenly craving a bit more solitude? Are you finding it way easier to just walk away from drama? Your growth might be quiet, but trust me, its impact on your life is going to be monumental. I highly encourage you to embrace the stillness and just trust the process. Thank you so much for joining me on the Explainer today. Keep seeking, keep growing, and I'll catch you in the next one.